Next fight we have Brandon Moreno versus Figgy. In the co-main event of the UFC 283. My prediction is Brandon Moreno.
And my prediction is actually going to be Deiveson Figueiredo, Figgy.
The reason I'm picking Moreno is every time he doesn't fight Figgy, he's putting people out. Submission or KO or easy decision, like unanimous. That's the reason I'm picking it. And I just think he's going to be able to outlast and or knock him out.
It's a great pick. I mean, it's hard to argue because the thing is that, these two fighters, they're fighting for the 125-pound championship.
And whoever wins this fight is going to be the champ.
This is it.
There's not going to be a fifth fight.
There's not. They're fought 3 times before.
Quadrilogy.
Yeah, man. The first fight was a draw, and that's when Figgy was champ, and so Figgy kept the belt. Then the second fight, the rematch, Moreno actually submitted. He knocked down Figgy and then submitted Figgy. That was a great
fight.
So Moreno won that one.
Great fight.
And then the third fight, they rematched again with a trilogy, and Figueiredo, did well in that fight and won by decision. It was a pretty close fight.
Close fight.
And then here we go again. Deiveson, that was Deiveson Figueiredo's last fight. That was Figgy's last fight. Was his trilogy fight with Moreno.
He held on to the belt.
And held on to the belt. And Moreno actually fought one other time since then against Kai Kara-France. And Kai Kara-France was streaking, man. He was doing great, going on a win streak. And he finished him with a body kick in the third.
That was brilliant.
It was an impressive body kick. Moreno's from Mexico.
Yes.
And, Mexicans in boxing and UFC, they're known for their aggression. And when Moreno wants to turn the aggression on, that's why he has
so many. Just goes.
Bro, he's one of those guys who's got the amazing, aggressive Mexican legendary style, and they just come forward, and you can't stop him. You know what I mean? And he's gotten those finishes.
You have to find a way to stop him, and a lot of people can't.
It's really tough to stop him. And he's so aggressive. He's a come-forward fighter. He usually is the guy who's controlling the octagon in these last 3 fights against Figgy. Moreno's actually been in the center of the octagon pushing Figgy back. Figgy just happens to be a really good sniper, counterattack fighter.
Very good.
It kind of, that's why it's kind of a phenomenal matchup, and that's probably why we're seeing a 4th fight
it's
here,
like
man.
the same fighter. We're looking
it's a
at
mirror
the
image.
stats.
It's a mirror image. Basically, they're like the same stats, almost same significant strikes. Moreno's got a slight 2-inch reach advantage.
It's like brothers fighting each other.
But it's like brothers. It's like Moreno likes to go forward, and then Figgy likes to counter, and it's just one of those fights where who's gonna be more clean in the strikes, who's gonna land a little bit more, and that's gonna eke out who wins the decision. The reason I'm going with Figueiredo is basically. Deiveson Figueiredo, he won the belt from Joseph Benavidez, or it was a vacant belt because I think Cejudo moved up. Yeah, Henry Cejudo, who's the champ. He's got belts at 25 and 35, and so he moved up to 135, and so Figueiredo had to fight a long-time contender in Joseph Benavidez, and he KO'd him in the first fight, then he submitted him in the second fight, and so
was that the same year?
Yeah, it was in the same year. It was like within 6 months in 2020, and and then on top of that, he's dominant, man. He submits a lot of guys, he KOs a lot of guys who are top guys. There's
not one way that he wins.
No, he can submit you, he can counter strike you and really hurt you. And I'll be honest, this is the one thing, right? This is the one reason. This is the one major reason why I'm picking Figueiredo. So. In their third fight, the first fight was a very close fight. Brandon Moreno took it on short notice, and it was a close fight, and it ended up in a draw. Second fight, Moreno actually knocked Figgy down and then submitted Figgy. So Moreno got the belt. So that's the only finish that happened in this trilogy. And then the third fight was a close fight. But in that close fight, that was close on the scorecards. The thing is that Figueiredo actually knocked down Moreno twice in that fight, actually. They were flash knockdowns, but still, it's a knockdown. And so, my point is that in the third fight, the first fight can be close between two fighters. Second fight, yeah, Moreno had his way, but he kind of connected. And I heard that Figueiredo had a bad weight cut, but no excuses. Moreno got the finish. But I even bet Moreno in the third fight, but Figueiredo did a good job in the fight, and Figueiredo did earn the victory. And then I rewatched the fight this week.
Never let it go to the judges.
Yeah, and the thing is that Figueiredo got the takedown in the first round, so he cinched the first round. He also leg kicked Moreno and actually flash knocked down Moreno from a leg kick. And then I think it was either in the third or fourth or third and fourth, he got a knockdown with some overhand. So my point is that Figueiredo in the third fight is now figuring out Moreno somehow. Usually it's the guy who wins the second fight who usually wins the third. It has been the statistics in the UFC in a trilogy. If you win the second fight, then you usually win the third fight. But this was the opposite, and the reason is because Figueiredo mixed in the wrestling. He got the timing with the overhand punches and dropped Moreno. On top of that, Figueiredo started training with Henry Cejudo, who we just told you moved up from 125 to 135, and Cejudo's a phenomenal coach. He's now coached his former rival, Demetrius Johnson. He's coaching John Jones right now for John Jones's move up to heavyweight versus Cyril Gane. So my point is that Henry Cejudo really helps fighters. He's got an elite level of just understanding, expertise about like strategy, and just knows exactly how to just
especially against
beat
these
certain types of
fighters.
fighters. Yeah, these types of fighters. Henry Cejudo has beaten all these types of top level fighters at 125 and 135. He's knocked out Dominic Cruz at 135. So when Figueiredo, someone like that who's raw talent, who can really has power, who can snipe, who can counter, and who can really hurt you with power punches, and he's got easy power. It looks very loose with it. Very very great athlete.
Doesn't even look like he's punching that.
Doesn't look like he's trying, and you can see the confidence. He's got a red stripe on his head, like it's like a bloodline on his head or something. I mean, he's an absolute
Predator.
He's truly a murderer from like a movie like The Predator. He really is. I mean, he would be like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of Brazil or something like that. He does have that sort of aura. And he's got the hyper competitiveness. Moreno's more of a nice guy, happy-go-lucky, which this is why we all love him. But Figueiredo, he gives Moreno the credit when he finished Figgy in the second fight. Figgy, carried him up and all that. And then, that night or that week he was going back to talking trash. You know why? It's because Figueiredo's an absolute hyper-competitive killer. And Moreno's a happy-go-lucky.
So he's a professional.
He's a professional, and Moreno's a little bit more of like
Go ahead.
Moreno's happy-go-lucky and stuff like that. But the thing is that, in a close, in a trilogy that is very close, where it's like either way, and now it's the fourth fight. I mean, that's another reason I want to go with the guy who's more hyper-competitive, who's more killer instinct, and that is, even though Moreno does get finishes. Moreno, he got the finish against Kai Kara France in his last fight. That's true. But he really had to go forward a lot to do it. And he actually got his right cheek busted up against Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France was actually winning that third round. And then, the body kick landed and Moreno ended up winning. But the point is that if Moreno does that against a sniper, a counter striker, a sniper like Figueiredo, you're not just going to get a bloody cheek. You can get knocked down, and you can really get hurt and possibly submitted. So these are the reasons why I'm just thinking I'm going with Figueiredo.
I don't blame you.
It's a really close fight, guys. But I think it's another phenomenal chance, guys, to live bet. Because depending on how it goes in the first round,
you bet the other fighter.
Bro, both guys hit with power. Both guys. I mean, I would say Moreno throws more strikes, and that's why he's a great pick. And then you look at Figueiredo, and he likes to sit back and snipe and counterattack, and that's why he's a good pick. And he's knocked down Moreno twice in their third fight. So this either pick is great, guys. But the thing is that whoever you pick, when you go ahead and see the fight in the first round, that's why it's worth it to go ahead and just buy the pay-per-view, because then you can go ahead and see the first round, and you can go ahead and live bet maybe on the other guy, or maybe you see your guy get a better price in the second round. There's so many reasons. Now
see one guy.
Yeah, I'm not promoting DraftKings, but this is amazing.
Throwing a lot more punches, and the other guy just waiting.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who's throwing, you should throw a bet on the guy.
Yeah, if you see Moreno just fucking flawless in the first round, not taking any punishment and just reading everything, all of Figueiredo's punches, sprawling, and just head movement perfect, and just lighting up. Let's say the jab is just working and Figueiredo's just getting lit up. Then bet the money on Moreno. Yeah. I would then switch my pick, because it's a very close fight, and a live bet is actually a perfect bet. But I will put a little bit of money, on Figueiredo.
I think this is gonna go the distance.
But I think this is a phenomenal fight, because each round is so close. If you can just pay attention and just look for who is using their head movement better.
Right.
That is going to be the difference in the long distance game, because it's probably going to go to decision. So if you can figure out who has a slightly better head movement, and you can just see who's making the better reads,
Right.
who's doing those little quick fidgety movements and getting their head out of the way and also striking. You figure that out, man, and you can get a great live bet on whichever fighter. They're both absolute champions, so
Beast of a fight, gonna be great.
phenomenal fight. It's gonna be great, guys.